Hey everybody, it's your briefing attorney Jeremy Rosenthal. I wanted to show everybody a video that was recorded originally last June during the Hunter Biden jury trial. At the time, it seemed that the prosecution was really running up the score on Hunter. Not a lot of very good defenses for Hunter in that case. Ultimately, the jury did convict him, find him guilty, but before he was sentenced in November, December of 2024, obviously Joe Biden pardoned him. Pretty controversial move, but you can discuss in the comments. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy the video.
Jeremy, good to see you again. We've been having you on throughout the week to help us digest this entire trial. So I'd like to start by maybe breaking down those two witnesses, again, the drug expert and the FBI expert, and why they were important to this case, especially for the prosecution.
The prosecution is kind of putting the cherry on top of this case. They've run up the score. I don't think it's particularly close. Hunter Biden was prepared to plead guilty, accept responsibility for this case. That got blown up. So what they're doing with these two witnesses, kind of running down some last loose ends. The weapon was thrown away by Hallie Biden. I don't know if folks remember that or not, but she actually found the weapon. She threw it away. This would be Bo's widow, and then Hunter Biden was romantically involved with her. She, it sounds like, experimented with drugs. He's obviously got as we know by now, a very well admitted drug problem. She found the weapon, threw it away. There were some cocaine traces on those. So I think the chemist kind of talked a little bit about that. And the case agent just kind of takes the witness stand, sort of ties the case up in a really pretty knot and bow for the jury. And then the prosecutor rests. Sort of what they're trying to do, if you will. The case is about whether or not Hunter Biden lied on the form when he admitted that he was a user or when he said he was not a user or was addicted to drugs. The crime was committed on the form, but it's a very technical one. So the prosecution is kind of doing what they can do to really make the crime dangerous, to make the weapon dangerous, to show the jury that, look, this is not above and beyond all else. This offense exists because we want responsible gun ownership. Weapons are for self-defense. Weapons are for people who follow the law. Weapons are not something that you need to buy when you're going to go out and do drug deals. That's kind of what these last two witnesses were doing. The prosecution rests, and then we had some drama once Hunter Biden started his case in chief.
Okay, let's go back to something that you did mention at the top of this last answer, which is the prosecution kind of tallying up how it went this week. Now that they've rested their case, what do you think? Do you think that they've presented their argument in a clear, concise way where they can get a victory in this? What's going through the jurors' minds at this moment?
I think in this case, if I'm a prosecutor, the danger here is that you run up the score. You've got, and you can do that when you have a drug case like this, and you've got a guy with known personal struggles, a person who has shown remorse, a person who has shown accountability to whatever degree that's worth to their family. It can be a bit of a sympathetic target, right? Hunter Biden doesn't work for the drug cartels. He's not shipping a lot of cocaine into the country. That's the typical type of person that you're going to see as a defendant in a drug trial. I think a lot of jurors in our country don't like the idea of incarcerating people for drug offenses or drug-related offenses. So the danger when you're dealing with kind of a guy who may be a little vulnerable and sympathetic is that you kind of bully him a little bit too much. If you run up the score, if you humiliate him, that could turn jurors off. You've also got Hunter Biden's family in the front row. Jill Biden has been in and out. His stepmom has been in and out of the courtroom. When you start really running up the score and spiking the football and doing your touchdown dances, you're kind of humiliating them too. And there's a real personal price to that. So that's kind of what the prosecution is making sure that they do, but they don't want to overdo it. They want to cover their bases, hit their points. I think they've done that 3 ways till Sunday. And we'll see if that got the job done. I think it will have in the end, but you never know. That's why we do this. That's why we have juries.
I think to your point with the sympathetic jury, if you remember the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard case, I'm not sure if you followed that trial closely, But the prosecution, in that they wanted to hone in on Johnny Depp and these drug abuse that he had in the past. And the defense pretty much used that to their advantage to kind of be honest, put it out there on the table. And again, speaking to those sympathetic jurors, is that something that we're really going to see the defense in Hunter's case do?
So Hunter Biden has already called to the witness stand his daughter, Naomi Biden, and she's taken the stand and gave very emotional testimony, saying that she is proud of her father in his road for recovery. Now, I don't know how good that's going to do. They called her as a witness. She visited him in rehab. I mean, ultimately, she is there. I mean, let's just be honest. She's there for sympathy. This is what trial lawyers call jury putty. They're trying to move the needle. If you can't move the needle with facts, then you move it with emotions. She gets up on the witness stand, doesn't have a lot to contribute to the bottom line, which is, was Hunter Biden an addict when he checked the box? She got up and said she visited him in the rehab that he was in 10 days or so prior to him filling out the form. She also testified about the car that he was in afterwards, and saying that she didn't see any drug paraphernalia in that car. And that's important. And that ties to some specific testimony that we heard yesterday, which was that Hunter Biden had sent text messages saying that he was doing drugs on the days immediately after he filled out that form. So in theory, her testimony kind of dispels some of that, but she's really there for emotional reasons.
You know, and speaking on the charges that he's facing, it seems pretty cut and dry. Was he on drugs when he applied to get this permit? And yet it's not so simple, is it? Because we continue to call witnesses to try to get the sympathy of the jury. Throughout this week, sometimes people can get lost with how many witnesses have been called to the stand. Who do you think was the prosecution's star witness, someone that will stay with the jurors throughout this weekend? They don't return until Monday.
The person who I think you would have to characterize as the star, and I would say is more of the cherry on top, because I don't think they even needed this person, but the star, probably the most damning witness, if you will, would have been Hallie Biden, who is Beau Biden, the deceased son of the president, his widow. She became romantically involved with Hunter Biden after Beau's death. They're both talking about how their lives were turned upside down by Beau Biden's death. She experimented with drugs. He was certainly had a lot of problems. She got up and was called by the prosecution, and she testified that Hunter Biden, who filled out this form where he said, "I don't use drugs and I'm not an addict," on October 12th, I believe, of 2018, on October 13th, he sent her a text that said, "I'm looking for my dealer. His name is Mookie." And on the 14th, he sent a text about the car that he was talking about with Naomi, that he was using, I think, on the hood of that car at a certain location. So she got up there and she really tried to cinch and tie off, or the prosecution did through her, any idea that he was simply not using in that time frame. One of Hunter Biden's defenses is, well, look, this statement on here is present tense. Do you use drugs? Well, if I haven't used drugs today or this morning or the day before, then I don't use drugs. It also says, are you addicted? Another highly subjective term. I think the better defense here for Hunter Biden is that he didn't intend to lie to the government, that his dishonesty is with himself. Let's be clear, drug users are not the best at self-reflection and accurate self-diagnosis. If we talk to somebody who drinks alcohol all day, every day, and you ask them, are you an alcoholic? A lot of them are going to say no, and they probably mean it. Now, I don't know that any of that defense is going to work, but she is there. Hallie Biden was the witness, the cherry on the top, that said, look, he was using essentially contemporaneously at the time that he was filling out this form. So she really cut off really any straight-faced defense that Hunter Biden has to this case.
Okay, as I mentioned before, again, something that I feel should be pretty cut and dry, even with the emotional testimony on the stand. But the defense is going to have a chance to present their argument. And you have said a few of the things that they may speak to in trying to defend Hunter. Do you think that they have an uphill battle ahead? Do you think that maybe they can get him off the hook for this? Or is Hunter going to have to face some type of punishment?
I think Hunter's going to go to jail for this, and I don't think it's particularly close. This was a case that he was prepared to take responsibility for in a plea deal that blew up. Sometimes in the criminal defense world, you just have to try a case, and this is sort of an example of that. It is, to put it into movie terms, sometimes you're getting chased by the monster and you have to knock over every fruit stand, every shopping cart. You've got to do everything you can do to get away from the monster, to delay the monster. But at the end of this case, the monster is going to eat Hunter Biden at the end of an alley. That's how I think this ends. And look, I mean, for Abby Lowell, Hunter Biden's defense lawyer, you got to throw something out there. He's doing the best he can. You got to earn your paycheck somehow, right? And what he's doing is he's throwing out a really highly emotionally charged defense, hoping that the prosecution really overplays their hand, comes off as the bully. And if the jury really, really, really super likes Hunter Biden, then they might just acquit him. I don't think that that's going to happen. I think that's probably wishful thinking. I do think Hunter Biden's going to go to jail. The good news for him is that I don't think it's going to be for long. The judge is going to use what's called the federal sentencing guidelines because Hunter Biden has never been in trouble before. He's going to be a really low person on that matrix. So he may be looking at 18 months of prison, 12 months of prison, maybe he potentially probation, but I think he's going to do some jail time here.
Well, Jeremy, that's why we have you on here, to give it to us in layman's terms and movie terms here, to kind of, tell us what we can expect with this whole trial. I think it's hard for some people to keep up because so many trials that we're following with high political figures and their relatives, but we appreciate your time here. And of course, it continues next week. So we'll make sure to speak to you then.
All right, Carol, take care.